It was exactly 5 months ago that Governor Mike Pence signed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act into law. It was a bill that drew attention nationwide, a comment from the White House, as well as calls for a boycott.
For the first time, we now know what it was like for Purdue University President Mitch Daniels during that time. It's a story you'll only see here on News 18. Dan Klein now joins us with a few of the surprises that we found in our Freedom of Information Act request. Dan?
Well, Jeff, we made that request in mid-April, and some of the results were surprising. You may think that Daniels got hundreds of email responses. One person even thought maybe more than 1,000. Turned out just 31, 0 came from current students. Now, among the emails from alumni and donors, it would seem while there are some ruffled feathers, there may have been very little real fallout, but some still hope for changes.
The Religious Freedom Restoration Act passed the House March 23rd and the Senate March 24th. But it wasn't until March 25th that Purdue President Mitch Daniels got his first email on the topic. Perhaps that's why when we asked him about the issue that same day, his response was,
well, I'm not going to take any position on it consistent with Purdue's policy of not doing so in issues like this. So you're within your rights to ask the question, but not for me to answer.
That's the way it stood for 4 days as calls from some to boycott Indiana began to be made. On March 30th, Purdue released a statement that did not address RFRA directly, but said the university stands by its non-discrimination policy, which includes sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, but that a long-standing trustee policy kept Purdue from taking a position on matters such as the current controversy. Just 3 hours earlier, a parent of a high school senior who was planning to come to Purdue called, concerned that a statement had not been issued. According to the results from News 18's Freedom of Information Act or FOIA request, Daniels got 31 emails on the topic from March 23rd to mid-April. With phrases like silence speaks volumes and shame on Purdue, none expressed support for RFRA. 7 emails threatened to stop donating or to pull financial support. News 18 attempted to contact each one.
I was, at that point tired of supporting, institutions that promote discrimination.
According to the results of our FOIA request, Daniels responded to 19 of 31 emails. Many point alumni to Purdue's statement. For some, it was the first they had heard of the statement.
I thought he handled it very well.
First of all, I was glad, to hear back.
For a few people who News 18 contacted or who responded to the president's email, his words were informative, unemotional, and reassuring enough to help them change their minds about changing their wills or pulling their support.
I didn't understand why he had not stepped forward. He explained that satisfactorily to me and then reiterated the university's position. I felt that was really as much as I could expect.
No hate in our state!
But others who received nearly identical responses from Daniels felt very different.
What did you think when you got that response from him?
I felt let down. How'd you feel?
Yeah.
Claire DeClean and her brother John have both set up scholarships to Purdue in their wills, with a combined value they estimate at $1 million. They say while Daniels was not supportive of the gay students and staff at Purdue, they got a different vibe from the giving office. So for now, they've not changed their plans or their wills.
The money is still with us and the scholarships are still set up, but we'll be watching.
But I sure would hate to ever see the money that we donate for some purpose fall into the wrong hands and get twisted or distorted.
Just one email to Daniels was from a parent of a prospective student.
You're kidding me. Wow, that really surprises me. I mean, it really, because that legislation really spoke to the climate of your state.
In the end, Lori Rasmussen's son chose Georgia Tech. She thinks because of the bigger city and more diverse student population, he would have made the same decision even if RFRA would have never come up.
I would say this contributed to it, but it wasn't the determining factor.
Our state! Our state!
But what about the next controversy that comes around, political or otherwise?
Would you like to see the Purdue board change their policy?
That's a great question. Now that I've had a chance to, sit and reflect, I don't know that I would want them more involved, because then you have to pick and choose what you do get involved in, and that's going to, have its own pitfalls as well.
But the DeCleans think he should not hide behind policy.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. That just doesn't sound like a real courageous statement to me.
We wanted to ask President Mitch Daniels what his thoughts were about how the situation was handled, what, if anything, he wishes he would have done differently, and if he would be looking into changing board policy, but he repeatedly refused to be interviewed about this story. Right now on WLFI.com, we have more from each of the people we interviewed, as well as a timeline and breakdown of when people emailed Daniels and his responses. Dan Klein, News 18.